Hi, this is Sweet Life and I'm Natasha, back with a recipe for making my Thanksgiving stuffing. It's a simple recipe for whether you call it stuffing, dressing, pretty much the same thing, where I use the drippings and vegetables from my turkey to flavor the stuffing. It goes great on the side of everything that's going to be on the table. I look forward to it every year. It's really simple, comes together pretty quickly, just requires a little bit of prep work. And you can actually start it the day before, making things easier for yourself. So you can get a lot of the prep work out of the way and complete most of what needs to be done the day before, making it like one less thing to worry about on the day of things.
So back at it again with my Thanksgiving stuffing recipe. It's a simple recipe for whether you call it stuffing, whether you call it dressing, it's pretty much the same thing, where I use the drippings and vegetables from my turkey to flavor the stuffing. It goes great on the side of everything that's going to be on the table. I look forward to it every year. It's really simple, comes together pretty quickly, just requires a little bit of prep work, and you can actually start it the day before, making things easier for yourself. So you can get a lot of that prep work out the way and actually even complete the entire dish the day before. Okay, so the first thing I do is I get the drippings from the turkey. The vegetables at the bottom, I take a spoon, just loosening it up. Get all of those root vegetables out. Put it into a bowl. So the carrots, the celery, all of that stuff, drain in the liquid. Getting all of those little bits. Drain off all of the liquid. And this I'm going to use in my stuffing. The liquid, I take a spoon and I just scrape the bottom of the pan, get all of that stuff loosed up. And once I have it all together, I then get a bowl with a strainer really, and just pour the liquid through. So you catch all of those solids and you just have the liquid in the bowl. The solids I take and reserve, that's going to be for my stuffing. The liquid I take, that's like a very rich, kind of like a stock. And that I reserve, I use to make my gravy. So instead of buying like gravy mix, I add like a little bit of cornstarch, or you could do flour, put it in a pot, simmer it, and you have a really good gravy. So I then take the vegetables, put them on a cutting board, and just chop them up into pieces. Not like big pieces, more of like a fine dice. So the celery, the carrots, just really take my time to chop them up finely. Because when I mix it into the stuffing, I want it to be that you get little bits of those vegetables in every bite. So just chop it up, nothing fancy. Going through these vegetables, they're going to be nice and soft. They've absorbed a lot of the flavor from that stock. And so vegetables, just take all of them, chop them up. I use quite a bit of carrots and celery because I like to have a lot of vegetables in the stuffing. This is going to be for a family size serving. So all of that stuff I chop up, I put into a bowl, I keep a little bit of the liquid in there, and then it's absorbed quite a bit of that liquid, so it's going to give off a bit of it as well. So put that off to the side, and that's going to go into the stuffing. So if you think of like the vegetables that you usually add in, or those add-ins that you put into the stuffing, this is like the basic version of it. I start making some cornbread. Very simple recipe. It's just some cornmeal. I use a mixture of whole wheat and white flour. Mix it all together. Nothing too fancy. And into that dry mixture, I whisk some baking powder and some salt to flavor it, as well as a little bit of sugar. Whisking all of your dry ingredients. It's simple. If you want, you could use like a Jiffy mix or one of those ready-made mixes, but this here is just stuff that I already had on hand. Add a little bit of milk. If you want, you can do like hot water, but really it's up to you. It's just a basic cornbread recipe. I would say don't make it overly sweet though, because it's going to affect the end flavor. Add a little bit of oil and just continue blending the ingredients together. 1 egg, mix it all up. And this mixture, this batter, I'm not going to take and pour it into a greased pan. You could use a sheet pan, but in this case, I'm using just a regular baking pan. This I'm going to then put into the oven. You bake until the cornbread is set, using just a toothpick to check it to make sure that it comes out clean. I pour it in and it's going to end up being rather thin. I don't want it to be like that soft, fluffy cornbread because this is stuffing. I want it to actually be kind of crumbly. So I bake it quite flat. As you can see, I laid out, it's going to end up being a thin layer. I then have some French bread. You can certainly bake your own, but you can make it easy on yourself and just buy from the store. And this I've taken and just cut into cubes. Not too big, not too small, reasonably sized. And I like to use a mixture of cornbread and French bread because the cornbread gives it like a nice little texture. It's a little bit more complex flavor. It's more craggy. It gets a little crunchy. That might not be the word, but I like to leave both of them for like about a day, get them a little bit stale. And the cornbread, I just crumble into the French bread. It's going to break down as you mix your ingredients. So those vegetables that I chopped, I add into the cornbread and the French bread mixture and just take a spoon and just mix it up. The French bread is going to kind of hold its shape a bit, but the cornbread is going to end up like breaking down. And just mix so that you get the vegetables well incorporated. To this, some of the liquid from what I got from the drippings, I take and I pour that over. So usually you might use like stock that you purchase from the store, you might make your own, but I just use the drippings from the turkey and just mix to combine it. This is going to help to moisten the bread. And this is part of why you want to use like stale French bread and have the cornbread sit for a day. It'll dry out a bit. And when you add in this stock, it's going to just absorb all of that flavor. So keep pouring over. You don't want it to be like soupy. So don't pour all of the liquid at once. Just take your time and incorporate it in. You mix it until it looks about right. It shouldn't be dry, but you don't want it to be like a soupy mess. So as you can see here, I've mixed in the liquid. You can see it's like moist, but not soggy, right? Which is what would happen, I think, if you use fresher bread. So I cut it into cubes, the French bread that is, and I put it on a pan overnight in the fridge and just let it dry out a little bit. I do the same thing for the cornbread. I bake it a day in advance, leave it on the pan, put it in the fridge, and just crumble it on the day of. Or if you want, you can make it in advance. But the point is that try to get the bread dried out in advance. And then here you go. This is your finished product, just stuffing. I just take it, put it into a dish that you can serve it in. Make it easy on yourself. If you'd like, some people like it to be a bit more dry. They'll take it and put it in the oven and bake it. That's certainly your choice. But I like it to be a little bit more moist. So in that case, I just mix it together, but I don't bake it again because I don't want it to dry out. I take it, put it into a pan, and this is going to go right onto my table. You can add additional gravy to it. It goes amazing with turkey and everything else. Thanks for tuning in. To ensure you don't miss any episodes, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and check out my Cooking at Home playlist. Go ahead and click that thumbs up button if you like what you saw, and go ahead and share it on social media.